And welcome back to another Inside Texas Wednesday night live show. So you're around the league segment. Obviously, there's only a couple of teams playing ball in our league this weekend, but we had to get Dave in here too. Dave, Dave Sooners, they've earned the right. Dave's earned a spot. That's a 10-win team. Hate to say it, but yeah, welcome John. Welcome Dave. Thank you guys for doing this again. But yeah, so John has a half hour. All right, guys, and so we're gonna let John give some big takes on the SEC title game first. But before you do so, man, hop on over to Inside Texas right now, and you could sub for $1. I mean, $1 first week right there. Come check out all the offseason news. Obviously, National Signing Day is going on right now, and you have that extended for a couple of days. But yeah, you're going to have all the team news through bowl season. Portal seasons opens up later in the month as well, and there's already lots of stuff being thrown around there. So yeah, go check out IT right now for $1, guys. But yeah, all right. So Georgia, Alabama. We've seen this movie. We've heard this song. We've done this dance. But I still love it, man. It's still very personal, especially when it seems like one side has got the better of the other. I'm trying to let you down easy, John. It does feel like Georgia has owned college football with Alabama excluded. So, be honest with me, were you rooting for A&M to beat Texas last week so that you didn't have to play in this game? One less game to play, and or does another conference title, does it mean that much to you, brother?
I will be very honest with you. I do not root for any other team in the SEC. And so therefore I will say this. I personally this is going to hurt a lot of my Georgia friends. I would have been okay missing the SEC championship game, and mostly because the SEC championship game, not because it doesn't matter. It absolutely matters. Anytime you have a chance to play a game for a ring, it absolutely matters. Anytime you have a chance to play a game to win the best conference in all of college football, it absolutely matters. But in this day and age, especially when Georgia was sitting there at number 4, it is kind of like, I don't know, man. Like it would be, the prospect of going back to Atlanta and playing another top team in the SEC and beating the hell out of each other before you go into the playoffs, like Georgia and Texas did last year, where Georgia lost their starting quarterback, et cetera. I'd be lying if I didn't say I wasn't hoping that a little bit of me wasn't hoping that it was Texas A&M versus Alabama. That said, like Kirby Smart said, when you grow up around this league like I did as a Georgia fan, and this game, I mean, it's always been the SEC championship. To those of us who have been around for a long time, has always felt like a national championship level game. Doesn't quite feel like that anymore with the expanded playoffs. But that being said, I mean, anytime you get a chance to tee it up and play for this particular trophy and this particular ring, I mean, you might as well go win the damn thing. So that's where I'm at this point, now that I've had a few days to sit with it.
Yeah, John, completely agree. Georgia, I mean, look, we had this discussion the other day regarding Oklahoma. A lot of people said, it's a good thing they're not in because they're already in the playoffs, right? You'd have nothing really to gain, everything to lose. I said, not so fast. I mean, the SEC championship is a thing. That's something that, you should want to be in your trophy case. Oklahoma and Texas don't have one yet. So, yeah, I think Oklahoma would like to go line up and play for it. Now, that being said, they are in the playoffs and they can sit and watch the madness unfold this week without really worrying much about it. In that regard, I felt bad for Alabama when Texas beat A&M. And then I think what the committee did last night pretty much showed, hey, we're going to forgive whatever happens. This isn't Alabama's fault. They're there. They got to play this extra game against what might be the best team in college football to make it in the playoffs. No. We're just going to position them to where even if they lose and have 3 losses, they're in this thing. So, yeah, I can't wait to watch that. It's a classic SEC matchup. I mean, one that we grew up watching, Georgia, Alabama. It's tough to beat. I mean, that's in Alabama. Look, they're really good. Ty Simpson, he can sling the ball around the yard. That defense is top 20 in America. They've already beat Georgia once between the hedges. But that being said, it's tough to beat a team twice in the same year. But I can't wait to watch that one.
Yeah,
Go for it, Corey. I mean, you gotta really talk big on Alabama when it's your the biggest win of the season, right? You know what I mean, Dave? You kind of have to, right? You went into Tuscaloosa. I'm just messing with you. I mean, I don't know, man. They just keep doing the undoable, which is beating Georgia right now in college football, and obviously they're really well coached. They keep growing, but the no run game, as you guys have y'all talked about before, that gives me a worry. And obviously you saw it pay. I mean that was a big part of the Oklahoma win, and so for me, just I don't know, man. I mean, I want Georgia. I'm just gonna be blunt. I want Georgia to absolutely wipe the floor with Alabama. I want them to, like, in the back of the committee's minds, be like, do we want this 3-loss Alabama team in the playoffs that lost to Florida State and got whipped by Georgia? Sound familiar? But make them think about it at least a little bit there. So, and yeah, trophies do matter. I mean, of course, they do care. You got to go win in the playoffs at the end of the day. There's going to be a lot of schools that have a playoff problem as we continue to develop a 12 team and potentially, a bigger field down the line. They just say maybe they're just not able to spend the money, and they're just, their fan base doesn't care. They're like, we give us the results. And I'm hoping it's your school, Dave, to be honest with you. I'm hoping another school over here to my east. And I know our side likes to give you all some issues for the no playoff wins. But hey, you were playing always a top 4 seed, obviously, when y'all were making it. Y'all did run into the Burrow team in 2019, which was a little bit of a wagon. They were all right. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to give you any more credit. And so I can't sit here and say that I think there's a shot that Texas gets in. But I am going to root for Georgia like crazy. So do y'all have like an official prediction? Like y'all have scores, anything for this one that y'all think? Give me a couple of like maybe the ultimate difference maker, a player of the game. Give me a little more juice here for the SEC title game. Who wins it for the Dogs, or who does it for the Tide?
I'll let you go first, Dave.
Appreciate that, John. Look, Gunnar Stockton, man. I mean, the guy continues to impress me. I thought when I first saw him, he should be selling insurance somewhere on a main street, not a college quarterback. And the dude has proven me wrong. He has become one of the best in college football. Fearless, stands in the pocket around a lot of noise, doesn't care. He's just like all the other Georgia quarterbacks you see that don't look like much, out of their shoulder pads, but you put them on a field with a championship on the line. Yeah, they're really good. So Gunnar Stockton, to me, the difference maker for Georgia. I've got him winning somewhere around 41 to 27-ish.
Yeah. Listen, man, if Georgia scores 41 versus Alabama in this game, boy, it's going to be a good night in Atlanta for Dogs fans. Listen, I think for me, you said it right. Like Gunnar Stockton, the selling insurance. Georgia, we used to talk about Stetson Bennett IV and Lab McConkey and those guys. It was like we had the Bowers, McConkey, and Bennett law firm that was playing, and it feels a little bit like that with Gunnar Stockton and some of these guys. They've been around forever. They waited their turn, and all of a sudden they're producing. I think Georgia coming into this game, really Kirby Smart, and I will say this without hesitation, without apology, Kirby Smart has the yips versus Alabama. There's no other explanation, right? When Nick Saban was on the sideline, I said over and over, Kirby Smart doesn't have an Alabama problem. He has a Nick Saban problem because everybody in the world had a Nick Saban problem. But then he lost to Kalen DeBoer last year in a game that, Georgia was getting the brakes beat off of them and then came back and had a chance to win the game. Turn around, you get them in Sanford Stadium with Kalen DeBoer this year. Should have won the game. Dropped a touchdown pass that would have won the game. A shoestring tackle and trip on Cash Jones on 4th and 1, or it's a walk-in touchdown to win the game. But they didn't win the game. And so at the end of the day, that's what I struggle with picking Georgia to win this game. I have sat in the top of these stadiums and watched a Georgia team that was clearly better than the Alabama team. And in the last 2 years, clearly, I felt like had the better coach, had the better program, and I've watched them lose the game. That being said, I do think Ryan Williams, the question from the chat, I do think Ryan Williams will be a factor. I do think that, I think Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb, with Eastern Illinois, with Auburn, they weren't, I don't want to say they were saving stuff, because you don't save stuff this time of the year, but I do think they were making decisions that were playoff decisions, right? I think they lost the game to Oklahoma, and they were making decisions of like, we got to win the game, but we also, have a chance. If we just win the game, we're going to play in an SEC championship. We're going to, and so I think this will be a game where that Ryan Williams will be a factor. I think they're going to pull out all the stops. The one thing I will say is Kirby Smart, as Georgia's head football coach, is undefeated in rematches.
Yep.
He beat Auburn in 2017 in a rematch of the SEC championship game. He beat Alabama in the national championship in a rematch. And so I'm going to go with Georgia, because I think Kirby Smart, if you give him 2 shots, it is hard to beat a team twice. That's an old cliche. But also, you give him 2 shots, and with that level of a coach, with this level of a football team, I think Georgia's going to win. My prediction is a little bit closer. I think it'll probably be like a 28-21 kind of game, 28-23 kind of game. But I think Georgia's going to grind out a lot of it in the middle 8 and in the later part of the game. But I think Georgia's going to win.
I just think Georgia's so much more advanced now than where they were back at that first game. I don't see Alabama staying on the field within the second half. That's just me, though. I mean, look, this rivalry is what it is, right? It's all being predicted to be close, because it is every single time. So I just have a hunch in the second half Georgia's going to pull away, because I think they're top to bottom the better football team.
Agree. Yeah.
I will say that listening to John talk about Georgia, we're gonna have to fight at some point, John, because I've had to paint my body red because of you. I've had to, and I recorded that video. I've still not posted it on my channel. I'm gonna wait for a little bit more into the playoffs. It was bad. It's a really, really bad 30 minutes. But maybe we get an Alabama fan, that comes and meets us in the parking lot, and we just all duke it out, because it is kind of weird, like the Yips against Bama. Obviously it feels like Sark, we haven't seen his best in the Georgia games. And again, that Georgia game is, the way that finished combined with, the Florida game is it kind of seems to be what is really doing it for Texas right now. We'll get into some playoff talk in here in just a minute.
And Bama can't beat Oklahoma.
But Ohio State, Indiana, real quick, predictions on this. Are you going to be watching? And again, I don't know if Indiana has a chance here. I'm sure they do. Yes, college football. But I think Ohio State's they've really found their stride. Do y'all think we get a good one in that one?
I think it'll be.
John, I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good one. Just because I think you have 2 good coaches. You have good leadership on both sidelines. But that being said, I will say, like, Ohio State, it's different with Indiana when you're playing, you played Oregon, for example, Penn State. I just think Ohio State, they have not just athletes, they have dudes on the defensive side of the ball. And I just think they're going to be able to get enough stops on Mendoza and those guys. And so I think Ohio State is going to win. Again, I think this will be a closer one, but I think it'll be 27-20 kind of game.
Yeah, I agree with that, John. I will say, I mean, I like Indiana. I do. I think Cignetti's doing some good stuff there. But Ohio State, they're what they are, defending national champs, and
couldn't find it. The mouse wouldn't move. All right, Dave, you go first. You Ohio State, Indiana. I already said I think Ohio State wins. So who you got?
Yeah, I like Indiana. I like Cignetti. I mean, the guy wins. Google him. That's what he does. But look, Ohio State, they're really good. I will say this: Indiana, they don't have all the pomp and circumstance Ohio State does, right? They don't have a championship, a Big Ten championship trophy. Ohio State does. So I think they will show up and play really hard with a chip on their shoulder. Nothing to lose, really. They're going to be in the playoff regardless of what happens. So I see a decent game. Ohio State beat Michigan 27-9 without Justice Haynes. Oklahoma beat Michigan 24-13 with to me, there's just not a huge gap this year between number 1 and number 10, and Ohio State's right there in that group. So I think it's going to be a really good game, entertaining to watch. But in the end, I'm going to go Buckeyes, probably, 27-24 range.
Yeah, and I love how you got in, Dave, the comparison between number 1 Ohio State and Oklahoma. Like it was just, you just had to like that similar score versus Michigan just pulled them right there together. I mean, they might as well be 1A and 1B with Oklahoma and Ohio State. I love it. It was perfect. Well done.
Appreciate that, John.
I will say it's a pretty. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you're good. Go for it.
I'll say it's a pretty elite setting for college football, though. Ohio State and Michigan and the snow like that was elite. I loved watching every bit of that, even though it never felt like Michigan really had a chance in that one. Great comparison. I won't touch on that one. But yeah, maybe. I don't know. I wonder what the spread is. I'd be curious to see an Ohio State, Oklahoma, hypothetical spread. I do think that defense obviously is going to give any offense, in the country some issue. But all right, we'll talk a little more broadly about a few teams in the playoff picture. But first, we're going to hear a word from our first sponsor, Luxe Kitchen and Bath.
Are you ready to love your kitchen and bathroom again? Luxe Kitchen and Bath will bring that to life. Luxe has been offering high-end kitchen and bathroom remodels for 3 generations throughout the greater Austin area. With 5-star review after 5-star review on Google and Facebook and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, you can put your faith in Luxe Kitchen and Bath's award-winning designers and skilled craftspeople to bring your dream vision to life. But that's not all. Luxe's all-star team also provides full home remodels, large additions, and even commercial build-outs as well. So call Luxe Kitchen and Bath at 833-358-LUXE today, or visit luxekitchenbath.com to discover where quality meets luxury and begin the process of transforming your home. Get your free quote today by calling 833-358-LUXE. That's LUXE, or by visiting luxekitchenbath.com. Contact info is in the description.
Alrighty, guys, and now for the most popular topic in probably sports right now, the college football playoff picture. It's all about perspective, in my opinion. I've not yet shared my opinion here on Inside Texas about all of this. I think it's just all about perspective. Like, what is more important to you? Do you care more about wins? Do you care more about finishing in the top 2 of your conference? Like, whatever your personal criteria may be. Obviously that's the stance that you're going to take, the hill that you're going to die on about who should be in and where they belong. So yeah, like I'm going to go through both sides of this coin because of course I have a side that is personal and then the side that could be, reality. Maybe the personal side at some point in college football wins out, but it's probably going to have to take some major changes to how it is structured. But anyways, so, you have the side that is, viewership. You have to decide what is best for the eyeballs. So people like us who are going to be sitting and watching every single moment of the college football playoff, almost regardless of who is playing. I think, we've all had some Cincinnati, Alabama matchups in us, or a few others in the past, games we knew weren't going to be games, and not just us, we'll all be watching. But what is the best here for, viewership? Obviously, we saw some of the hypothetical spreads for round 1 matchups last night. When you have 3 spreads, I believe, that were double digits and, not 10 or 11 points. There were some 16 through 18 point spreads, I believe I saw. But anyways, so the other side of that is, you take Texas, you take Vanderbilt. Obviously, they do a lot better numbers. The TV ratings are going to be crazy. But you can't punish the little guys, right? You know what I mean? So it's like you have the other side of that coin and they've done their job. And so I think, you're going to have to meet in the middle and you're going to have to make it the criteria to be, for the G5 schools is going to have to change. Like, I think that they should be having to schedule Power 4 teams, maybe once to even twice a year. You know what I mean? And who they pick and choose to do so with, that's on them. But there's got to be something more because some of these schedules, I will say, are pretty light and there is no Power 4 action, or maybe they did, but it's, that's their one lot. But anyway, so when you have the potential of maybe a 7-5 Duke or a Virginia getting in, like there's some major issues here. And so there's going to be a lot of people that are on that side of the viewership is going to be best if Texas, if Alabama, like last year, Alabama, South Carolina would have been more competitive in the first round than some of the teams that we saw. And so, and of course, I don't want to that doesn't need to sound like I'm carrying a banner for the SEC. It's just a fact of the matter. And I've already gone through all the emotions in the last like 48 hours of like, I was so far on the other side of this hill like 5 years ago. And holy hell, man, have I reverted and my eyes have opened up a little bit. We just call it self-growth. We're growing up a little bit. John, I know you have a take on this. Let it rip. We don't have you for too long. So I'm fire away, brother.
Listen, the very first 4-team college football playoff, the very first one in 2014, 2015, Oregon beat ACC champion Florida State 59-20. The second college football playoff in 2015, Alabama beat Big Ten champion Michigan State 38-0.
Yep.
Like, I think where we have to get away from is this idea that, and you can go all the way down. Clemson in 2016 beat Big Ten champion Ohio State 31-0 in a 4-team college football playoff, right? So I think we have to get away from this, like, expecting games to be close or competitive in the first round or trying to get, you know what I mean? Like, because at the end of the day, the truth is there are only a handful of teams that are good enough to win the thing every year. And it generally is teams that look good enough to win the thing at the, all year long or consistently through the year. What we need to really think about is what's good for college football as a whole, and how do you reward teams for creating a good product all year long? Because the challenge that we have is like everybody's trying to chase this, like, oh, we need the games to be competitive, so we want to get these teams in. I don't know. I mean, Ghost, like, no offense. I think Texas is a really good football team. I watched a 14-10 game with Georgia turn into 35-10 pretty quick. And like, I think if you look at these games, I think that's the challenge, is that people feel like, they want like these games like Ohio State and Georgia in 2022, where it went to, overtime and a missed field goal decided the game. And then Georgia went a couple weeks later and beat TCU 65-7. So it's like, at the end of the day, I think people are always chasing this, like, oh, these close, like, overtime games, etc. The challenge that we have is that the committee has to decide, do you reward teams that make the regular season a very valuable and very interesting product? And most importantly, do you reward good wins, or do you penalize and punish bad losses? Like, which is better? Because, like, for me, in college football, you should want parity. Like, you should want a situation where a good team could lose to any team on any given Saturday. But you can't turn around and say, oh yeah, because this team lost, this game on a given Saturday, that we're going to penalize them more than we're going to reward them for when they beat these really good teams on a given Saturday. And I think that's the challenge that I see, is that you have teams like Ohio State scheduling, like Texas scheduling Ohio State, Oklahoma scheduling Michigan, right? You have teams scheduling these good games, knowing that, like, hey, you have a chance to lose this game, but this makes the college football product as a whole much, much better. It makes it more interesting. It brings in more revenue. It does all these things. But if the committee is going to decide, we're going to penalize you more for losing a good game for a team, or even penalize you more for losing versus Florida. I mean, I'll just call it out. Like, I think that Texas loss versus Florida, I don't think it's as bad as everybody's making out to be, because they look at a record, which, again, you are what your record says you are, all those cliches. But you can't sit there and say, because you can't sit there and say we want games to be competitive in the regular season. You can't sit there and say we want, the regular season, like every Saturday, to matter, right? And then turn around and say, yeah, but this loss on this Saturday matters a lot more than this win on this other Saturday. And I think that's the challenge. So for me, I think the college football playoff, if you look historically, I mean, we can go down. Clemson in 2018 beat Notre Dame 30-3 in the first round. You can just keep going down. there have been blowouts since the beginning of this thing. And I think people point to blowouts and say, this is why you need to let other people. I don't know that there wouldn't be blowouts in the first round anyway. But what I will say is, like, I do feel like the committee has to make a decision. Are we going to reward teams for good wins more than we penalize them for, for a loss? Because I think that's what's getting lost in this. We just keep talking about, quality losses. I'm like, God damn it. Like, let's talk about the quality wins. And that's, for me, is the big issue.
No perfect system, right?
Well, what about you? Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, and not much to follow up. I mean, I don't think there's a perfect system. You're going to have blowouts, I think, regardless with who you put in. I think we can look at more common sense in the future, right? Instead of just automatically because somebody qualified throwing them in there, you look at common sense. Who might be the better matchup that's ranked higher? Maybe just take the top 12 ranked teams and forget about the automatics with the G5 unless they prove it on the field that they can actually compete. Because to me right now, that's just taking up a playoff spot that could go to somebody maybe competitive. But as John talked about, there's never a guarantee with that. So, there's just no perfect system. And I look at Texas not getting in. It's not so much, one loss here, one loss there. I just see 3 losses, and that is what differentiates them from everybody else. So in the end of the day, Texas has to look inward and say, yeah, we lost to Florida. We shouldn't have done that. And that's why they're going to be sitting at home, watching people play in the playoffs.
And I think that's fair, Dave. I do think that that's fair. I think my personal opinion has been for a long time the G5 should just have their own playoff. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's like you have it at every other level. It's like just do it, man. Just do it. There's 70 teams in Power 4 or whatever it is. Like, just, there are plenty of teams to field a playoff in the Power 4 and in the Group of 5. But I will say the number of losses, I do think should matter when you have a lot of teams that are stacking up like we have right now. When you have a lot of teams that are stacking up, I do think the number of losses should be a factor. I just think we're very let me tell you all this. If you want to burn down the college football playoff or water down the regular season very, very quickly, Alabama lose this SEC championship game to Georgia and bump them out of the college football playoff. Because I guarantee you that will immediately it will immediately what are we even doing, right? That will Alabama the next day. If I was Greg Byrne and that happened, I would go cancel every Power 4 opponent except for the one. Now that's the thing with the SEC too, right? Is the SEC decided to get clever. The Big Ten tempted them, said, "Come on in, play 9 conference games." Well, they said we're gonna play 9 conference games, but then they said because Florida's rival is Florida State and Georgia's rival is Georgia Tech, now you also have to play 1 Power 4 non-conference. So you're playing 10 Power 4, and the Big Ten, Indiana didn't play 10 Power 4 teams this year, right? It's so now the Big Ten has automatically set themselves up to win because they play 9 conference games, yes. But they don't have a requirement to play a Power 4 opponent like the SEC does because the SEC was already playing good teams. We were already scheduling good teams. We were already doing this. So we essentially, I think fell into their trap of now we're getting penalized for it. And I think the best way to burn this college football playoff to the ground is to let an Alabama team get their 3rd loss in an SEC championship game and boot them out of the college football playoff. Because that, I guarantee you, Greg Byrne the next day will cancel all Power 4 games in the future. Greg Sankey the next day will burn the whole thing to the ground. And so I think because of that, I think you are going to see God help us all that Georgia wins this game. You are going to see the first 3-loss team in Alabama get in the college football playoff. But should they, right? For me, I don't think a 3-loss team should be in a college football playoff. I just don't. And with all respect to Texas, I just don't think if you lose 3 games, you should be in the thing because that means, you've lost. I'm not good at math, but if you play 12 games, that's, 25% of your games. It's I mean, no offense, but you know what I mean? It's this. That's not good.
It's got to matter at some point.
It does.
It does. But I think Alabama getting in with 3 would be more circumstantial, right? It's not their fault they're here and they're going to play it. Texas had their chance throughout the regular season to not lose 3 games, and they did. I mean, I understand fan bases wanting to get in. I understand coaches lauding for it. But look, it's the rules we have right now. This is the metrics we're all playing by that everybody agreed to preseason. If you take on Ohio State early in the season, guess what? There's a chance you might lose. And at the end of the day, that might come back to bite you.
No, also, guys, I mean, it's kind of weird to hear John say nice things about Texas. I would like to see I do have, one take I'll ask you, Dave, when we come back from our sponsor break. But yeah, John, thanks for joining us. You got to run right. Appreciate that, man. Texas are great. Obviously, people in the comments agree. You have a good night, brother.
Hope.
All right, guys. Just Dave and I carrying you home here for the last half hour. But first, we're going to hear a word from our sponsor, David McClellan.
Big financial decisions don't have to feel overwhelming. There's someone who can guide you every step of the way. David McClellan is a fiduciary financial advisor with Forum Financial, and he's working closely with his clients as a true financial life coach, guiding every aspect of your financial journey with expertise and care. If his name sounds familiar, that's because David was a swimmer at Texas and a member of several national championship teams. Today, he channels that same championship mindset into helping people win with their finances. David specializes in financial planning, and he's contributed numerous articles to Kiplinger on the topic of retirement tax bombs. And right now, David is offering viewers a free intro consultation to assess your financial situation. Do not miss this chance to get personalized guidance from a trusted expert. To schedule your free consult, email David at dmcclellan@forumfinancial.com, or you can call him directly at 312-933-8823. The contact info is in the description.
All right, guys, we're back here. And I will say, I will say this, and Dave, I'm curious on your opinion as well, but when you guys at home, when y'all are watching college football, and what criteria, what matters to you? I want to know in the comments. Because I see some talking about it doesn't matter, like how many losses you have, depends on who they were, who they're against, which, and we'll pop some of those up on screen. But, like Clemson won the ACC last year. Didn't they beat SMU? I think that was, that was how they got in. Yeah, a really good game. But at what point do we just, in my opinion, do you have a committee of people that are not affiliated with any of these universities where it's just the eye test? I'm so anti-stat. I hate to say it. I am super anti, well, they have the number 81st this and the 17th this and the 15th that. And it's like, okay, but I think that's what gets everything kind of askew here. I think we get pulled in so many different directions when if you're looking with your eyes quite clearly, like there are some teams, like I think, and Dave, don't hate me for this, but I only think there's a couple of teams that have a chance at winning a national title. Now, would I get on there on Twitter and say that to Sooner Nation? Absolutely not, because it would be a long 24, 48, 72 hours. They'd be coming for me. And especially if they won a couple of games, it might get a little sweaty. But, it's really hard to believe, and think that some of these people really think like, and I hate to say it, but like that a BYU is one of the 12 better teams in the country. In my opinion, they had their one test against a real team at Texas Tech. They saw how that went. And so, like, to me, like, what is the most important thing to you guys? Like, is it wins and losses? Is it really just cut and dry, that simple? That is all that matters to us is, hey, we won 10 games. I'm going to be honest with you. It's not the Michigan game that got OU in my opinion. It's the full body of work and going 10-2 against that schedule.
Yep.
I don't think it's just because I know it's a fun troll right now on Twitter. Like, hey, Texas lost their big game, and that's why they're not getting in. We won our big game. Like, you did win your big game, and yeah, that may be true, but it's a full body of work. You know what I mean? It's a little deeper than that. And so, just for me, man, it's like, not everybody can sit and dive in and watch as much college football as, some of us do. And luckily, Dave and I are blessed and in really good spots to sit down and be able to watch a lot all the time. But, and not just obviously with Texas or Oklahoma, a lot of different schools. But, it's with the eyeball test, are we not taking progression into the matter here and determining, who should be in this field? Just because the ACC, like it's the way that Miami's played of late. I know they had a 38-7 win over Pitt, but just the way that they kind of went in the second half of the season, again, they won 10 out of 12. So you have to credit them. But like, when do we start thinking about that? And for me, it's just, putting these teams on a field, seeing how they would match up. I'm mostly just using my eyes. Yes, stats matter and stuff too, but you've got to play the matchups. You got, in my opinion, you got to really see who belongs in here. But of course, they're going to take things like we talked about earlier. TV matters. That type of stuff goes into this. They're gonna. I think that they moved Ole Miss and A&M very specifically to set a matchup that they want. In the very back of my mind, I have this big grand vision that Alabama gets absolutely toasted by Georgia, that Duke beats Virginia, and they leave both of them out. Only Miami represents the ACC. And then what's the other one? Who obviously BYU loses to Tech, and and maybe just maybe, probably not, but maybe 11 seeded Texas and Arch Manning travels to Oxford, Mississippi, where his dad, uncle, and grandfather all played college ball. I'm just saying, it's a great storybook, Disney, yada yada. I'm just saying, Dave, think about it. Let's make that happen. The propaganda machine is on that one. The vision is out, so now we can spin it and let it go. But yeah, just and again, Dave, you kind of talked about like what matters to you, and again, I do think, like I said, Oklahoma is one of the the best defense in college football. I mean, it's crazy sometimes to watch their front seven and what they do and how dominant they are. Because you're like, okay, surely they're not going to get pressure again, and surely they're not going to get pressure again. But then again, it's not a perfect defense. They still give up a big play here or there because teams are really good at scheming. These are great athletes. But as a Sooner fan and hosting a game, is there a dream matchup? And let's not say, who you think you're going to beat the most, but who you just like you want to play the most? Is it a different answer than who it would be if the easiest route maybe, or it's just a really cool tradition, cool uniform matchup, two big brands that you want to see?
Yeah, Cord. I mean, I think if you asked the Oklahoma fan base at this point, they don't care. They're happy to be there. It's been a great year. Nobody really saw it coming. Bobby, Texas belongs in the playoff, but like OU, would do nothing of consequence. We could probably beat anyone in the first round, but the second round starts requiring consecutive miracles. Yeah, I'll touch on that in a second, but I don't think it really matters for Oklahoma. Just the month of November that they had. You start off, in late October, losing to Ole Miss at home, and that's not a good feeling. You got 2 losses, season over. You got to go on the road to Knoxville, Tuscaloosa, really tough places to play. Then LSU and Missouri. There's no way they can go 4-0, but they do, and they find themselves in the playoffs. And I have to disagree a little bit here. Yeah, they had a great defense, and I don't think we're really going to appreciate how good it's been after the season is over. You just don't see defense like this nowadays in college football, holding people to 20 points or less, not with how prolific offenses are coast to coast. So it's been above, really, really good. And that's where, if you're an OU fan, you got your fingers crossed. Maybe offensively they can start to put some stuff together to go with it. But look, I think Oklahoma's going to be a tough out because that defense and special teams are really good. They're at a point, if that offense happens to hit 1 or 2 explosive plays a game and a couple long field goals, they can beat anybody, man. So it's at a point right now. Again, I don't think it really matters to the fan base. It's just get it here and let's get it kicked off and ready to go.
Yeah, and I mean, it doesn't. Because like you said, you've got the home game. You're back at Norman. Like you're ready to rock. I can't even imagine how rabid a scene that is. I know we Texas fans, we hate Oklahoma. I get it. Like I do too. I hope they don't have a good time at all and that they lose. But man, it's going to be tough on whoever the hell it is that comes into Norman, Oklahoma. I mean, it really, really is. And A&M's going to do the same thing there. I mean, we saw the way DKR and how electric it was, and it helped propel, a good Texas 2024 team to win over Clemson. Several really, really cool moments that I'll think about honestly for the rest of my life as long as I can remember. Some epic crowd pops, and so yeah, they'll make it difficult, man. It's going to be fun. We could see an OU A&M matchup. I am literally praying to the football gods. I need to see A&M and Tech or Oklahoma and Tech because we got the Big 12, the SEC, the trash talk. We're going to have the Twitter fan bases going absolutely nuclear. Man, and again, like it's going to be It would be electric. I would do anything for those matchups. I can't even talk about. Yeah, we had some fun ones last year. Clemson, Arizona State was cool with because of Scatabo and Levitt. Almost wasn't cool at all. And then Ohio State. You know what I mean? Those are fun matchups. You talk about between the two big brands with Clemson and Ohio State, and then just that one team that Arizona State put together was pretty special. And so definitely cool. Obviously you said, happy to be in the playoffs. And so just being in the dance is cool, pretty envious. But a hate watch is a hate watch, man. We get to sit here and watch Tech, hate watch A&M, hate watch Oklahoma. And the cool thing is that two of the three are going to be successful at some damn point throughout this whole ride. At some point they have to come true. The scary part is that one of the three could be lifting, a trophy at the end of the year. And then, I'm just trying to scroll up and get your last comment, David. So I thought it was a good one, but and it's not right now. It's not the 12 best teams. There are too many other factors that allow teams that are not better than Texas to actually reach college football playoff. But at the end of the day, it's like, well, do we want to have 8 of the maybe top 16, 17 best teams in the college football playoffs every year? So it's just, there's no reason for me not to have a more difficult path, requirement for these G5 schools. You know what I mean? And it's no disrespect to North Texas or Tulane. My second favorite program in the country is Texas State. And shout out Coach Kenny. But there's just no way that they shouldn't have to play. Texas State is coming to Austin next year, so he knows I'm not talking about him. But there's just no way that they shouldn't have to do a little bit more. And I get it's huge exposure. It's really big if they can get in. So I understand making the path maybe a little bit easier, because we don't really have that choice. You know what I mean? Like the SEC is the SEC. You can schedule a tough game out of conference or not. But hey, just go win the damn game. Go beat Ohio State on the road. You outplayed them for the most part. They ran for 100 yards and they threw for 120. And you read that box score, you think Texas wins. At the end of the day, you're unsuccessful in the red zone. You have a turnover, and things don't go your way there. And then you lay an egg in Florida, and you lay an egg in the fourth quarter against Georgia. So does Texas deserve their fate? I mean, fair. Are they one of the 12 best teams? I think it's pretty clear, cut and dry, in my opinion, that they are. I think they went and proved that the culture is strong in the program throughout the year, several times there. Dave, they could have cratered a little bit after Florida, turned around and lost to an Oklahoma team. You have the 2 games on the road that you very nearly almost lost. And so, I know Texas fans are down, but you're 3-2 after that Florida game, and things could have got real silly because you still weren't, really into the meat of your schedule, playing some more SEC road games. And then you still had, everybody talked about November, and every week on Twitter, I was asking, all right, Texas fans, how many wins? And would post a schedule. And a lot of people were telling me, a lot of trolls were like, oh, November, you're going 0-4, you're going 1-3. If you'd have told me Texas went 3-1, I would have taken it at the beginning of the month. And so it is a little frustrating in hindsight, that we give up a couple of 4th downs there on that drive against Georgia that gave them the 2-score lead that was right before the onside kick. And I'll be thinking about little moments throughout the season that most likely did, end up costing Texas. But there's still a lot to build on. There's a lot of positives. Obviously, it's tough for Oklahoma right now. I want your opinion on this, Dave, because you're in the college football playoffs. You're dealing with National Signing Day. The portal's about to open up, and you could be in the middle of a playoff run. You have the portal. How do you think Venables and Oklahoma, and they just kind of go after all of that in specific? Because again, I know that Texas has had guys that they made it known that they were going to hop in the portal, but then they we're going to complete the playoff run. You know what I mean? They're still part of the team and stuff like that. So have you heard of any of that? I guess for OU, but also, and it's not, you don't have to get specific. It's going to be everywhere. But, and then, it's like you said, you're excited to be in, but it also, you still got to you got to re-recruit your roster, have your guys, and then go out there and I guess look for fits down the line, in the portal that it can help OU in the seasons to come.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Oklahoma loses our Mason Thomas, arguably the best player on that really good defense. He hadn't played the last 3 games, and it hadn't really mattered. So I think they've got good depth there. Yeah, you're going to hear some guys jump in the portal. for Oklahoma. It happens every year. I don't think it's going to be anybody. I'm not going to say any names. I don't think it's going to be anybody that is earth-shattering major contributors here. I did want to bounce back to Texas, though. Look, I think that they're one of the best teams in college football this year, at least top 12. And it does kind of suck for people who love the game that you have to get stuck with maybe a James Madison versus somebody matchup or Virginia versus somebody matchup just due to the automatics. Hopefully we can get to a place in the future where common sense dictates what we see on the field and what's going to be the most competitive matchup. But look, a lot of stuff can happen still. Texas is not out of this. I mean, there's a ton of football left. A lot of stuff can happen this weekend, and Texas right now is the shot to get in. So don't lose up hope. Don't lose hope there. But yeah, back to Oklahoma. I don't think a lot of people jump in that people are going to be going nuts about. It is interesting. It's something that Brent Venables has not had to deal with his time at Oklahoma, having a playoff run on top of recruiting. But I think Jim Nagy, bringing him in as general manager, that's going to pay dividends. He can kind of take care of that stuff while Brent is strictly coaching right now, getting ready for the playoffs. And it's going to help recruiting. There's been a lot of negative recruiting, and rightfully so, against Oklahoma, losing season last year. But it's, got an upward tick, of course. Winning helps all that. And they've done a lot of that this season and find themselves where they wanted to be. So all in all, good. You can't complain. You got to have extra duties on top of the playoffs. I think they've got people in place to handle that.
Yeah, man, I love it. I mean, yeah, like I said, I can't imagine, man. Like I know Venables is a good guy. There's part of me that's really happy for him, man. But of course, I hate to see Oklahoma have success on the football field. But I mean, the turnaround that he does, or that he's completed, kind of, I mean, a playoff win would go a long ways and kind of that next step, because no one really thought, outside of Norman, in my opinion, really thought that they would be there. I know Josh Pate and guys like that are like taking him here to win the Heisman and stuff. So like, I don't know if he had Oklahoma winning 10 games. But so the point is, like, national wise, I don't think they were getting a crazy amount of love. I think people thought they'd be better. I definitely didn't have 10-2. I'll say that. And so, but yeah, now it's the next step. You've gotten there. You gotta appreciate that, be happy. But it's going to be a big time matchup, and you definitely one that you want to win. I've got a fun one for you here. Last question I'm going to have for you on the night, actually, and I'll share my mine with you after you go, because I need time to think about it. But what is your favorite BCS era or college football playoff game of all time? Okay. You cannot have an answer that includes Oklahoma. You cannot have an answer that includes Texas. You can think about it for a moment. If you need to rattle off a few to kind of, really pick out your answer, what you got?
Yeah, I'm ready, man. John just talked about it. Ohio State, Georgia, you've got the field goal. Look, we were at a concert in Tulsa at some ballroom, and they're up on stage playing, and there's a big group of dudes, husbands and just dudes huddled around watching a phone, and it was the game between Ohio State and Georgia. And the band on stage kind of got pissed off that all the action was on the phone and not them, but that was the game. And it was New Year's Eve, right when the guy kicked the field goal to miss it and lose the game, the clock ticked to midnight, and it was New Year's at the same time. Something I'll never forget. That was an awesome game to watch. That's what college football is all about. And circumstances dictate that has to be mine, man. That was just a game that nobody will ever forget, myself included.
Yeah, I mean, that was an iconic game, man. I mean, you really can't script a game like that much better. Curious, you guys in the comments, you still watching? Says got a pretty good amount of people in here. Y'all drop your favorite BCS college football playoff era game ever. Can't have your school in it. We're doing it without ours. This was a great one. Yeah, this was an iconic one. Oh, yeah. I'm still standing on the hill that Ohio State received a phantom. Shocker. Ohio State receiving a phantom call. Miami should have won that game. The game should have been over. It's a terrible PI. And it does bother me a little bit, because for some reason, Ohio State's just my least favorite school out there. Got Buckeye friends. All right, I don't hate the guys, but just never rooting for that football team against almost anybody. Miami should have won that. All right, those Miami teams they should have completed that. Excellent game, though. Obviously, Ohio State. That was an Ohio State team that all year long never impressed anyone. They didn't blow they weren't killing people. I remember them playing a crazy game with Purdue. But that was a really, really fun one right there. Let me think of one. I'm trying to think. Give me a moment. I was over here not thinking of any single game, just listening to your answer. Man, yeah, it's hard not to think about Ohio State and Georgia in that game. Feels like whoever obviously won that one was winning a national title with, I believe, TCU waiting on the other side. No disrespect to the Horned Frogs, but a different beast. What a tough semifinal. What a day of college football, though, in general. TCU, Michigan, Ohio State, Georgia. That was pretty. Yeah, and I do appreciate that, guys. Y'all didn't know I took the Penn State job today. Somebody's got to do it, right? Somebody's got to take the damn gig out there. I'm not afraid of Ryan Day or Sharon Moore or whoever's coaching at Michigan next year. If anything crazy happens there. Yeah, could go Nittany Lions or whatever that is. And again, man, if I'm going to pick a favorite, see, I'm not going to go with like a game like Boise State, Oklahoma, like great game, but that would not go against, that goes against the rules. Sorry. Tough. Man, there's been some really, really good ones. Let's see here. I guess I would sit here and say, man, it's been a while, but was it what, 08? 09. When was Oregon and Auburn? Just because like that was the defense was stood up in the red zone. There was a lot of movement. I loved watching Cam and then the way that Oregon ran that offense. I can't remember what year that was, but that one's way up on my list for some reason. But all of a sudden I'm going blank on all of my favorite college football or BCS era games. Speaking of BCS, man, what a time! I'll never forget. Yeah. It's crazy. We're always going to be complaining about this. Like there's always going to be teams. It's whether it's it used to just be 2 teams. Obviously, you'd have 3, 4, 5 maybe complaining. Now, if there was 8 teams, 9, 10, 11 would complain. If there was 12, it'd go all the way. You know what I mean? You still have an NCAA tournament in college hoops that has 68 teams, and there's always a team or two out there that has a legitimate gripe, a legitimate cry, based on that criteria. So, yeah, I couldn't remember when it was. It's been many years ago, but I just that one particular game really just kind of came to mind. But again, drawing blanks. What about you, Joshy? What's your favorite? You didn't drop yours yet. I need to know which one playoff game or BCS era game you really enjoyed. But it was hard to beat, the year that we just talked about in 2022. And I can't really come up with too many answers better than that. Clemson and LSU in 2019 was pretty fun because it almost kind of felt like David versus Goliath as far as how the media built it up. And then you had a Clemson team that really hung around until that third quarter and when there was a really big pick in that one. But yeah, it's hard not to. Josh says the same thing. The 2011 was that Bama versus LSU or was that 2012?
It was the 2010 game, but
so
2011
I can't remember.
Championship game. Yeah.
But yeah, so well, all right, guys, we're gonna let y'all get out of here. I do appreciate everybody being in the comments. Thank you, Dave, John, if you're tuned in somewhere, doing whatever you was. I appreciate you, listening and being a part of the show tonight, brother. But yeah, guys, y'all go hop on Inside Texas and get subbed for that $1, man. Take advantage of a great deal right now because there's so much team news, team content coming out. Take advantage of that. And, go tell a friend to tell a friend, as my buddy John would say. Since he's not here, somebody has to say it. But Dave, great takes tonight, man. I always appreciate you, your friendship, and you coming on this show and helping me out. Thanks, guys. Y'all have a good night.